All right. So we're going to record and we're going to have a good time tonight. I know for the people joining us for the first time, this is not how we usually have our fall banquet, but we're excited to have it in some capacity and have you guys with us. Welcome to the 11th annual Princeton Volleyball Fall Banquet. Pretty exciting that we've been doing this for over a decade. And really cool to have it with both programs. That's something, the synergy, as we like to say, between the two teams and the family is something that's been going, that dates back to the 1970s. And it's something that Sabrina and I are really passionate about, keeping the teams connected, intertwined. And so doing this together with you guys, even though it's in the middle of a pandemic, is a nice opportunity to kind of all be together. So wanted to just send a few thank yous. Normally we do thank yous in person in the banquet and we can see people. I tried to do a quick scroll, just gonna throw out a couple thank yous. Saw our equipment manager, Mike Tybalt. I wanna thank him for all of his work that he does for us. You can give a virtual clap if you want, or you can do the thumbs up if you'd like. I saw Elliot Carr on the call. He's our SID, so thanks for all of his work. My mom's here, Susan Schweisky. Thanks for being here. She's usually doing some capacity with the banquet, helping out. I don't know if Lou is here, but just wanted to give a shout out to our bus driver, Lou Franoff. He's an incredible component of both programs, been with us for 6 or 7 years, quite a while now, and just an amazing guy. Deirdre Chatlos is our athletic trainer for both programs, does an amazing job with both teams. Wanted to give her a shout out. Nikki Elisay is just an amazing man. If you haven't got to know him yet as a new player or team member, please search him out when we come back, because he's really the heart and soul of a lot of what we do. I want to give a thanks to the men's assistant, Pat Schwarn, who was with the women for 4 or 5 years and is now just with the men, but just an incredible workhorse from a recruiting standpoint, and just does an incredible job for men's volleyball and women's volleyball as well. So I just wanted to say thanks to him. And then I wanted to turn it over to my co-host in this Princeton volleyball journey, and thank her for everything she does. She is Princeton volleyball personified, been with the program for several decades as a player, as an assistant coach, as a head coach, more conference championships than anyone that I know, and just an incredible leader for all of us to be around. So with that, I introduce to you Coach Sabrina King.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sabrina King. Hopefully you can hear me. Sam, I don't know that you introduced yourself. Sam Schweisky, amazing coach of the men's team, and organized all of this. So you guys got emails from him. He's fantastic, and he's really the heart and soul of a lot of what we do. So yeah, just to piggyback off of that, we got a lot of thank yous. Andre, did you see Andre? So Andre's at one of our fellows, academic fellows. Yay, woo woo. I have to give a big shout out to Tim Favreau. He's my new assistant, who basically came on 3 days before I went to maternity leave and about 3 weeks before we went into lockdown. So he's been pulling a heavy load during this time. And I don't think Angie's on the call, but Angie is our strength and conditioning coach. She's someone that we work with a lot, and so definitely a shout out there. And obviously we love our speakers, and I see Mama Wool there too. So hi, Mama Wool. Tiana's mother's on the Zoom. So Sam, back to you, or?
You are introducing, our first student athlete speaker.
All right, we're going to get right to it. No, cut to the chase. So our first speaker is Tiana Woolridge. She's class of 2015.
First student athlete speaker.
Oh, student athlete speaker. I'm so sorry. Exciting. Okay, so Alexa Underwood. She is our first up. She is a senior this year. She's going through this pandemic, living about 3 miles from campus. And she's a fantastic captain for us, has had a great career, but a little bit riddled with injury. But we're going to hear from Alexa now.
Thanks, Saab, for the introduction. I want to again just welcome all the freshmen and their families to Princeton Volley. And I know a senior says this every single year, but it does fly by, and it feels like yesterday that I was being forced to listen to a senior that I don't know yet. But I want to start by just saying that I think that this year for everyone has really been defined by a shared feeling of loss of family, connection, loss of time. And like many others, this feeling has often been overwhelming. And I think if you had told me a year ago that I'd be losing a season of Princeton Volley, especially my senior year, I would have been devastated. And as Sab was saying, I just spent 10 months rehabbing from shoulder surgery to play this season. So when we found out, and I actually wasn't devastated, I was really confused by that and how that felt, because I love spending every single day with my team, the bus rides, beating Yale, sneaking down to the hotel lobby to buy 20 ice cream sandwiches. But when I thought about kind of why that was, I realized that losing 1 year couldn't take away what this program has given to me in the last 3. So I thought, instead of kind of giving a super formal speech, I would kind of give you some examples of what the program has given me. So I guess starting on kind of a somber note, my sophomore year, I was going through a really difficult time, was having a bad mental day, and just texted Sab, I was like, I can't practice today. I can't do it. I'm so sorry. And instead of trying to force me to come or be mad, she actually drove to my dorm, Forbes, and we sat in her car for an hour. And I'm like crying, but she just listened to me and didn't go to practice until that she knew that I was okay. And I'll never forget that. And then after my sophomore year, I was living in New York City, completely alone for my internship, didn't know a soul. And Jesse, Tosh, and Maddie and MC, who had actually already graduated, working full time, would come to my apartment every weekend, force me to go out to dinner with them, meet their friends, even bring me as a guest to their gym to lunch. And after my internship was over, Maddie texted me and was like, we got to celebrate. And I was like, no, it's just an internship. It's okay. And after working for 10 hours, cooked me a full meal. We sat and just like laughed and talked all night long. And again, she had already graduated. She didn't need to do this. And she's still one of my closest friends. And then this fall, Joe, Julie, and I were saying that we didn't really want to go home, fly all the way home for 4 days at Thanksgiving. And Nico jumped in probably before even asking his mom permission, offered to host all 3 of us at their house in Illinois. And the Jaya family, who didn't know all of us that well at the time, took us in as if we were their own. They took us all over Chicago, Wilmette, and we had Thanksgiving dinner with literally their entire family, grandparents, aunt, uncle, Stefan, and Nico's sister Alex, who's also at Princeton. And I think that just goes to show, again, what Tresky's talking about between the men's and women's volleyball team, and it's something that I'll always cherish. And then later in the spring, the men's team again was playing Penn State for the EIVA championship. And for context, the women's team works all of the men's games. They work all of our games. And while working, we are very much expected to be professional and impartial, not cheering or definitely not heckling the other team. And we had done a pretty good job until the 5th set. Sorry, Schweitsky, but we were jumping out of our seats, literally yelling at Penn State over the score table, pointing, yelling, and eventually left our jobs to run to the court to celebrate them. And I know when you go through the recruiting process, especially the freshmen, I'm sure you heard how kind of amazing this relationship is we have. And it was such a cool moment to feel that. And I think every win, every loss, you feel that relationship and you have that support. And that's definitely something that I'm going to miss a lot. And I guess going on a little bit less of a celebratory note, my junior year, I had to take pole stats, which involved a lot of code. I know my team's heard this story a million times, but it involved a lot of coding, which meant I had no idea what I was doing. And I will never forget being in the Forbes dining hall. It's literally 4 a.m. That's not normal. Laughing out loud, everyone staring at us because Elena had to teach Grace and I how to do the entire assignment for hours while she was trying to do her Spanish homework. And that's something that's very common on our team, and helping each other out when needed. And lastly, honestly, I wanted to say something about Claire and Julia, but I couldn't even choose a single moment. I'm living with them right now, but I can't even tell you all that they've given to me. They have been there for me through every up, every down. And I think that's what I owe most this program, and all my other teammates who are giving me such amazing friends that I know that I'm going to have for the rest of your life. And you hear that freshman year, it doesn't really sink in till senior year when you're looking around and they're still there. But anyways, I tell you all these things because even amidst all this loss and being on Zoom 24/7, I find myself feeling grateful. And it's because of this program. Grateful also to my amazing parents who are hiding upstairs tonight on Zoom for their unconditional love and support. I would not be here without them, and I know none of us would be, so make sure to thank them after this. Grateful to Saab for giving us all the opportunity of a lifetime, and Schweisky as well, and always supporting me not only as an athlete, but also as a person. Grateful to Lou, Nikki, Sergeant Miller, Deirdre, who are, yes, our team around the team is the phrase we use, but they truly, it's ironic, Schweisky said this phrase earlier, they are the heart and soul of this program. And I feel so grateful to have gotten to know every single one of them personally. And every time I see them, it's a giant hug. And lastly, so grateful to my teammates and the men's team who have become my closest friends. So I guess my big advice, even though I don't know if I'm qualified to giving it, to the freshmen, but also everyone here, even the parents, is to really try now, especially, to make an effort to be grateful. Because I think if there's anything that the past 3 years have taught me, and this year especially, it's that there are no guarantees. And even when it seems like everything is going wrong, you will always have your teammates, myself, and this program to rely on and lift you up. So that's it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Alexa.
That was wonderful.
My baby actually pulled the internet, so I didn't see most of that, but good thing it's getting recorded.
Yes.
So Schweisk, on to you.
Yes. So I just want to say to Alexa, how beautiful that speech was. And, it's interesting. So I was the women's assistant coach for 7 years. And when I stepped down to just coach the men, I thought, I'm going to really miss, coaching the women and being connected with the women. And Alexa, I don't think I formally coached you, but I feel as connected to you as I have with anyone else that I coached through the camps and the different things and all of our social media conversations. And I just appreciate you and your support and just buying in, understanding this living of the two teams being connected, because it's something we talk about, but it's not that way in high school. A lot of places, it's not that way at a lot of colleges. And you get here and you get swept up in it, and it's really cool. And you telling the story about the girls yelling and screaming at the Penn State match, I have memories of Annie Ferlman and Cara Mattaliano jumping up and down 5 years before that. And, it's just something that repeats itself, and it's just really cool to see. So we are incredibly grateful and appreciative of you. And thank you for that wonderful speech. So
Thanks, Schweisky.
I will turn now to introduce AJ Chen, who has selflessly given more to this program than anyone that I can think of in my 12 years of being here. He was gracefully mentored by our distinguished speaker coming up later tonight, Junior Obo, which I believe AJ was a freshman or first year on the team when Junior was here. AJ leads by example, always puts the team first, and truly embodies the gold standard of thinking about others first. He's been an incredible asset to me as he's taken on this new leadership role, and I'm just very grateful to him, and I'm excited to introduce you to Mr. AJ Chen.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. It's great to see all of you, even during these weird times. For those of you who don't know me, my name is AJ Chen, and I'm a senior on the men's team from Maryland, about an hour outside of DC. And I first want to say that my heart goes out to everyone who has experienced loss in these last few months, whether it's been the loss of a loved one, loss of a job, just loss of mental stability and peace. These are very challenging and isolating times, and just want to emphasize that we're all here for each other. We're all here for you. So if there's anything anyone can help you with, please reach out to a teammate or to a friend in this program so we can support you. And like Alexa said, 4 years really do fly by. I still remember sitting in Wallace or Friend, listening to Obo and Corey I see on the call, and then Greg last year, and here I am. These 4 years really do fly by. And I guess one thing I want to pass on to all the first years and all the teammates especially tonight is responding to adversity and just the importance of making the most of every situation that comes your way during your time at Princeton. And this applies to Princeton volleyball, life in general. As you all know, life is full of challenges and unexpected twists and turns at every level of life possible, no matter how much you try and prepare for it. Whether it's your future career, your studies, your athletic career, you're going to come across some roadblocks, many of which are just out of your control. And most of you out of high school were probably all-stars and #1 options on your teams, and great students, valedictorians, maybe not valedictorians, but great students, really smart people. And if you're like me coming into Princeton, besides being great at volleyball part, you probably had or have really high expectations set for yourself. You've probably played images in your mind of you scoring a game-winning kill, or maybe you've thought of all the internships you're going to get during your 4 years, and the golden 4.0, all of which are definitely possible, by the way. So keep striving for those. But somewhere down the line, you're going to have unexpected things come at you. Maybe you're not playing as well as you thought you would, or not getting the playing time you want. Maybe you've suffered injuries or setbacks during your career. Maybe you're not doing as well in your classes as you thought you would, or maybe you're just having trouble navigating the social scene at Princeton. Hopefully you're not experiencing all of these things at once, but bottom line is that we all have experienced and will continue to experience some form of adversity in our lives at Princeton and beyond. But the one thing in common that all these situations share is that you get to choose how you're going to respond. And what I've learned in these 3 years is that how you choose to respond is going to set the tone for everything else that you do. Your response to adversity is really what determines your legacy and your story. And I can tell you from experience, and everyone in this room can speak from experience, that it just sucks a lot when challenges come, and it hurts when things don't go your way, when tough times come. And it's certainly important to embrace the emotions that come with them. But these are the moments where you truly grow in your resiliency, your perspective, your mental toughness, your ability to adapt, and just your confidence in yourself. And so if I had to put this all into one line, so it could be stitched into a pillow or something, I would say, don't let the challenges in front of you blind you from seeing the opportunities ahead of you. If you can somehow turn these moments into motivation to get better, or put things into a bigger picture, you'll be able to grow and improve as a student, as a player, and as a person. And again, your feelings of doubt, frustration, anger, insecurity are all completely valid. They will come at some point. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have these feelings or you can't have these feelings. My parents have got it down that after every exam, they should expect to receive a phone call from me where I'll just go off for an hour saying the professor sucks, life is unfair, I'm not going to graduate, I'm not going to get a job. And by now they know to just nod and agree, and they'll figure it out later. But after that, you can choose how you're going to wake up the next day. You can choose what attitude you're going to have. You can choose what energy you rub off on others, how you carry yourself. In the gym, you can choose to show up earlier, get more reps, lift harder, find different ways to support your teammates and peers. You can choose how you're going to respond to moments of adversity. And when you think back in 4 years of your time at Princeton, and you pinpoint these moments when life presented you with a challenge, but you turned it into an opportunity, you'll be really proud of yourself. And just to close, Alexa touched on a lot of this. What's special about Princeton and Princeton volleyball especially is that you have a whole community, a whole family that is ready and wanting to support you, to love you, and to walk with you through your highs and your lows. During my toughest moments at Princeton, has always been the texts I get from teammates after exams, or the hugs I get before practice right there that remind me, I might be in a tough spot now, but I have a great support system. I have friends, I have teammates who are going to help me get through whatever I'm going through. We have amazing people like Deirdre who will willingly sit with you and listen to you as you talk about everything you're stressed with and as you play with Navy. We have people like Lou, Nikki, Dan, Allison, Mike, Anthony, who will greet you every time with a smile on their face and just genuinely ask how you're doing and uplift your spirits. I'm especially grateful for all the parents in this room who I've had the pleasure of meeting and interacting with these last 3 years, who have hosted us in their homes, on their floors and beds, and taken us out to meals, sponsored meals, come out to our games, who have stayed after games to just spend time with us. What really makes this program special is just the love and support that everyone willingly and genuinely gives. And so to all the players in the room, when you encounter adversity during your time at Princeton, just remember that you have the opportunity to choose how you're going to respond, and you also have a whole family, a whole program behind you, ready to support you and help you as you write your legacy and your story at Princeton. Thank you.
That was great,
Right.
AJ. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see. I can remember Alexa and AJ sitting as freshmen, first years, and then just watching the transformation through Princeton is pretty special thing to watch. So, Okay, now Sabrina, you're going to introduce our first keynote speaker, alumni of the night.
Sorry. Thanks, AJ. That was fantastic. And that quote, I hope that it goes up at least on the whiteboard, and maybe when we redo the locker room, we can get that up there in the team room somewhere. Okay, on to our keynote speaker, Tiana Woolridge. Tiana is class of 2015. She's an MD, MPH. She's a resident physician in the University of California, San Francisco, Department of Pediatrics. She's the founder of Embrace the Mind, a school-based mental health program with a threefold mission to provide education on mental health, to reduce stigma associated with mental illness, and to equip students, teachers, and families with tools to build mental wellness. She's committed to ending health inequity and supporting mental wellness for children and families of color. She was a middle blocker on the Princeton women's volleyball team and proud member of the class of 2015. Tiana is kind of this phenom unicorn person that she was actually my first recruit. When I got to Princeton as a head coach, she had actually received admission to Princeton on her own, I know. And I had to kind of woo her away from MIT. And that was a fun process for me, and just getting to know her. And yeah, she's just been a special person to me personally, just because she was that first recruit and sort of started our journey together on this new chapter of the program. And she was instrumental in helping with changing that team dynamic that we see alive and healthy on the team now. I don't know if Tiana's going to talk about it, but one story about her is that she, she had started, she was doing great. She was second team All-Ivy, I believe. And the first day of her senior year, we were doing fitness testing, liners, and she tore her Achilles. And, we talk about how fast things go, and, how the uncertainty, especially with the COVID situation, is just really is so apparent that you don't know, how much time you have left to play your sport or to do things you love. And so that was very apparent with her, and she might talk about it, so I don't want to steal anything, but that was a real eye-opening experience for all of us, and she definitely spread the word about that as well. So Tiana, I'd like to call you up now.
Yes, thank you. That was so of course, timing is great. My interconnection has been unstable. I keep getting that thing pop up. So someone just messaged me in the chat if a full minute of what I say disappears. And I'll just repeat myself. It'll be great. So yeah, first I wanted to say thank you so much, Saab and Chweisky. Alexa and AJ, you guys' words were absolutely beautiful. And I hope you guys will start a podcast someday, or show up at my door every morning. That said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and share a PowerPoint that I created, mostly because I have a really hard time focusing on Zoom if I'm not looking at something more engaging. So it's just a bunch of pictures to show you guys here. Great. So again, really, really grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this really special night. And I thank you all for being here, and thanks Saab and Chweisky for inviting me. Now my goal for this talk, as I told Chweisky last night, is mostly to just set a really, really low bar for a virtual keynote so that Junior can look really good when he finishes this all off. But jokes aside, I want to share just a little bit about me, how this program has impacted me both during my time at Princeton and after, and then also, of course, share some thoughts about these unprecedented times that we're living in, and hopefully leave you all with some words of inspiration and encouragement. That is me, if you can tell. So I want to start here. This is me over here at my first ever Princeton volleyball banquet my freshman year. So I'm back all the way back in 2011, and this is actually me at my last Princeton volleyball banquet as a senior. And so looking back at these pictures reminds me First, that photo quality has come a long way. I think this was taken on an iPhone 3. And then this one, I think, has some like one of those early dramatic Instagram filters on it that just really gives me so much life. But more importantly, these pictures really help me reflect on change. So when I look at 18-year-old Tiana, fresh from preseason, just a few weeks into college classes, I'm reminded of a mix of so many different emotions: optimism, nervousness, excitement, self-doubt, pride, homesickness, and on and on. I think about the big plans and goals I had for my college career and what I wanted to accomplish by the time I got to my last banquet. Some of those plans I achieved, like getting all of the honors and getting accepted into medical school. Some plans changed, like my major from molecular biology to School of Public and circumstances beyond my control. And y'all can't see this because this photo's cropped, but I was actually standing on one leg in this photo. After years of all this buildup and hard work, lost my last season of volleyball. And as unexpected and awful as that was, and unfortunately, I know a lot of you understand that feeling of loss given the current pandemic. That year, I honestly can say that I had more personal growth than in any of my previous 3 years at Princeton. So before I get into all that, let me give you a little more background on me and who I am, and also distract you with some very cute baby pictures of mostly me, but also my brothers are kind of cute. So I was born in Los Angeles, California, to these two beautiful people, Orlando Woolridge and Pat Jackson Woolridge, who's on this call right now. Hi, Mom. And though my siblings and I both grew up in California, my parents were born and raised in small town Louisiana and were actually high school sweethearts. So now, unless you're really good at extrapolating height based off the size of a 1-year-old baby, which some might be, you might not be able to tell from this picture that my dad was actually like a giant. So he was about 6'9", and quite the basketball phenom growing up. I'm gonna pause for a sec. Can you guys, someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Because I got the sign again that my internet was shaky. So yeah, he was quite the basketball phenom and ended up playing in the NBA, which is ultimately what brought us out to Los Angeles, the Lakers. So we were a total basketball family, which is why I put this note in here that I was briefly considered the black sheep of the family when I switched over to volleyball full time my last year of high school. So my parents got divorced when I was around 6, and for the next years, my mom sat access to an education that my ancestors truly couldn't even dream of. So her parents actually didn't get a middle school education. And sorry, scroll back in my notes in here. Yeah, so as I mentioned, her parents didn't get beyond a middle school education. And just a few generations before that, on both of my parents' sides, my family members were sharecroppers and slaves. So when her and my dad were growing up, they actually went to segregated schools and had to go in separate colored-only entrances in movie theaters. And what I always like to tell people when I say this wasn't like 100 years ago. This was actually just in the mid-1970s. My mom really wanted to give us the tools to go out and achieve everything we put our minds to, which is a privilege that a lot of my ancestors didn't have, and honestly, which many people of color in our country still don't have to this day. And she really succeeded. You know, between me and my brothers, we have 5 degrees, 3 of those degrees from Ivy League schools, 3 Division I collegiate athletic careers, and 1 professional athletic career. And feel free to bombard her in the chat to figure out how she did that, because like, I don't even know how she did. But she always really reminded us of the importance of education and also the importance of lifting others as we climbed. I really just took that as an excuse to avoid getting a real job for 22 years and run up a lot of student debt, which is working great so far. But seriously, I really poured myself into academics. I knew I wanted to be a doctor since I was 6 years old. And I also really threw myself into helping out my peers and my community through school clubs, volunteering, sports, and all that. So that's the Tiana that came to Princeton's campus in August of 2011. This is just a ton of pictures. So my time at Princeton is full of just so many incredible memories that I'll never forget. I know Slav and Shaisky, you're probably just looking back at all these faces like, oh my gosh, memories. The picture that I don't have on here, which I wish I did, was actually my first day at Princeton. When I really had a wake-up call and that like moment of being saying to myself, wow, I'm not on the West Coast anymore. I remember, spending forever picking my first day of school outfit. It was a beautiful fall day, not a cloud in the sky in Princeton, New Jersey. And I go to class, my first college class, was so excited. And I remember with 3 of my teammates next to me, I think it was an intro chemistry class. And then I remember leaving, walking up to the front door of the building, and it was a downpour, a torrential downpour. And naturally, I never checked a weather app because I'm from Los Angeles and I didn't know weather was a thing. So that's something that I hold near and dear to my heart with my other West Coast teammates. Other things on here, which I'm sure you guys are already picking out, we have so many incredible volleyball traditions that I hold so close to my heart, from volley jolly to Halloween celebrations, to volley bowling, formals, looking tough in pictures with Angie, who I wish was on the call. And then, of course, as you guys can see down here, just hours and hours upon hours in Cannon, eating the best food on the street, taking naps in the crane room, and getting down to the best music on the best dance floor. But unfortunately, things were not all fun and games all the time. My dad passed away at the end of my freshman year, which some of you guys know. I had a really, really tough breakup with someone since I got to Princeton at the end of my junior year. And then, as I mentioned, I had this really, really traumatic injury and fell into a deep depression, unfortunately, at the beginning of my senior year. But every step of the way, through all of these ups and downs, Princeton volleyball truly carried me through. The first lesson that Princeton gave me was this concept of adding value. So even in my final year at Princeton, when everyone knew I wouldn't play for a second of the season, I was out for 7 months, Saab always made me feel like I added value to the team. It took me a while to shift from that role of being a starter to being a supporter. With her encouragement and seeing the example that she set for the girls, I really grew to understand that no matter what position I am on a team, I can do something to make that team better. And that has really carried on throughout all of my time in medical school and now as a physician. Even if I wasn't the lead doctor caring for a patient, as a medical student, I was able to spend more time with patients, explaining what was going on with their medical care. I was able to look up new studies to teach residents about what medical breakthroughs were coming out, or just connect and collaborate with social workers to meet patients' non-medical needs. And medical school admissions departments really, really love athletes, which I was like, thank God, because they know they will do whatever it takes to make a team better rather than just focusing on what they can do for themselves. The next lesson I got from Princeton is actually from Troisky, the power of the mind. He ran us through a sports psychology presentation at the beginning of every season, which gave me techniques that I still use to this day. He encouraged us to use visualization to prepare for tough matches. Closing our eyes, seeing ourselves acing a serve or crushing a slide successfully even before we touch the court. And I told him maybe a couple of years ago now that I used that skill during my surgery rotation, seeing myself successfully suture a wound in front of my attending's watchful eyes before I stepped forward to actually do it. He also taught us about the idea of fake fire. So basically cheering and acting really, really excited on the court, even if you're sad or tired or grumpy or just feel like crap, because eventually you'll start feeling the way that you're acting. That one I've used a lot when I'm about to go into a week of 16-hour night shifts at the hospital or take like a 2-day-long exam. And trust me, it helps a lot. And finally, Princeton volleyball taught me the importance of staying present. Student athletes have a ton on their plates, as you guys all know, from practice to homework to campus jobs to clubs, social activities. And the only way you can really do it all is by staying fully present in what you're doing at that time and at that moment. On the court, Saab and Troisky taught me to shake off the last play and not to fixate on anxiety about the outcome of the game, let alone the 5 problems that I had to do that night, and to just focus on the point right in front of me and get done what I needed to do. And everyone is talking about the power of mindfulness right now, and this program set that into motion with every practice and every game. This helps me focus now on one patient at a time, the patient in front of me, one procedure at a time, without getting shaken or distracted by everything else going on that day or in the world. So the women's team has heard me talk a little bit about the Black Lives Matter movement during a session I led. And I was really moved and touched by the passion that they feel around this issue and the steps that they're taking to educate themselves and others. Unfortunately, the tragic news hasn't stopped flowing in. Please know that the Black people in your lives are really hurting right now. Breonna Taylor and I, both Black women, we were both the same age. We both work in the medical. She was murdered while she slept, and the people who did it are facing no charges for what they did to her. And that's something I have to carry with me each and every day. I hope and pray that that stirs something in your spirit, that although I have so much in common with you all, with your sons, with your daughters, the world is still structured in such a way that violence, discrimination, and racism against people who look like me is still happening. I deeply appreciate Saab and Schweisky for using their platform to educate you all, the future change makers, the future world leaders, because I truly believe that substantial change will happen in our generation. Another thing that's been weighing heavy on my heart is seeing the extent of mental health issues during this time. Every study out there is showing that mental health issues, depression, anxiety are worsening during the pandemic. And it's no surprise. This time is full of uncertainty, fear, mixed messages, isolation, grief, canceled plans, and so on. My heart goes out to each one of you right now for the sacrifices you've had to make in order to fight the pandemic and to keep our loved ones healthy. But I recognize that that doesn't come without great distress and pain. So therefore, I leave you with this. I encourage each and every one of you to take time can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and can contribute to their own community. You all have incredible potential to change the world, to end inequity, and to accomplish all of your dreams, and I hope that you all see that and feel it every day. Often throughout my time at Princeton, I would self-esteem and self-worth to my sports performance, to playing time, to grades, which are honestly sometimes beyond our control. I want to remind all of you that you are wonderful and worthy people due to who you are, not because of what you do, and to also encourage you to develop self-affirmations to lift yourself up in times when you doubt yourself. Now I gotta say, volleyball and turning up a cannon were often my biggest sources of stress relief in college, and I can imagine the same is true for a lot of you guys. So with those gone, and with a million new stressors in this uncertain time, finding new ways to manage stress is gonna be really crucial, as I'm sure you all know, and as I'm sure you're all engaging in. So exercise, learning new skills online, creative outlets, activities like yoga, mindfulness meditation, which I do every day, are all useful personal investments right now that everyone on this call should make. So in closing, to all the current players, I hope you can all recognize the gift and the privilege you all have in each other, and having Saab and Schweisky in the alumni network, and in access to the education from arguably the best college in the entire world. Stay close to each other, lift each other up, and be open to growing through this time together. This too shall pass. Thank you and have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Tiana. That's amazing. You really set the bar really, really low on that one. Just kidding. Tiana, I mean, you're everything. You've been everything. I mean, we've had such a journey together, and you've always been amazing, and it's just exciting to see you every step of the way do so many things and be so many things to so many people. And so you mean so much to us, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'd like to just echo that. You know, Tiana, that was tremendous, and thank you. You know, it's so nice. I mean, like, you know, I was an assistant coach on those teams, and I gave my presentations and did the best I could. And to hear years later that something I said helped you, it's like the nicest, warmest feeling. And I just think it's such a nice reminder to everybody. You know, I think a lot of people have thanked their parents. Every parent in the room, every child in the room can think to the thing that their parents have helped them with. And so when you can remember to thank your parents or your coaches, your teachers, or the people that helped you along the way, it's a beautiful thing, because parents and coaches don't do these things for the thanks. They do them because they love you and it's their job. But getting the thanks is really special, and it means a lot. So, and then seeing that picture of us pushing the bus in the snow really brought me back to a bunch of Californians and Floridians. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We get stuck in the snow, and they're like, we can push it. And the bus driver was like, sure, you can let him push it if you want to. And they're all like straining, pushing the bus. That was
Another weather story. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
That was not Lou.
That was not Lou. That was pre-Lou.
Lou would have never gotten us stuck there.
Yeah, that was a great story. Okay, switching to our next and final keynote speaker of the night. I am gonna, let's see here, push this to this. Okay, I'm gonna introduce Junior Oboe, class of 2018. He is currently an investment banker, investment professional at the Frontier Markets investment firm, where he interacts with national and international development finance institutions, governments, and institutional investors. Previously, Junior worked in New York City in industrial investment banking, where he focused on mergers and acquisitions and other corporate advisory transactions for clients. In addition, Junior is a committee member of the Impact Investors Foundation in Nigeria. Junior was born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria, and relocated to Old Bridge, New Jersey with his family at a young age. At Princeton, Junior majored in history with a certificate in African studies. He was a 4-year starter and a 2-year captain. These are all true. I'm glad he didn't put anything in about being like 6'9" or 6'10" that I would have had to fact check. These are all true. He was a 4-year starter and 2-year captain of the Princeton men's team. Junior was awarded the Art Lane 34 Award, aimed at recognizing Princeton senior athletes who embodied a selfless contribution to sport and society, and also received the Princeton Men's Volleyball Morgan McKinsey Award. Junior is currently the chair of the EIVA Racial Equity Council, aimed at assisting the identification of potential student athletes in minority communities and mentoring those current student athletes. Just personally, Junior's been one of my all-time favorite players to come through this program. I don't know if it's in his presentation, but there's a picture of us peppering in Nicaragua. We went down to Nicaragua with the team in 2015, 14 or 15, and we were on the beach. The sun was setting. Some guys were playing soccer, and he said, "Hey, coach, you want to pepper?" And we just started peppering, and the sun was setting, and that picture just always just puts a smile on my face. His energy and laugh are infectious, and I love the time that we got to spend together at Princeton. Through his time at Princeton, Junior helped educate both myself and the team on many important issues related to diversity and inclusion, but recently has taken a big step in not only working to educate our Princeton men's volleyball alumni, which Junior sort of pushed them, and through that push and that conversation, they donated $15,000 to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, but also our current players and the entire EIVA, our entire league. Junior recently gave an hour-and-a-half presentation to all the EIVA coaches on behalf of the EIVA Racial Equity Council, and is on pace to meet with every team in the EIVA to educate them on how to make their teams better and more inclusive environment for all players. I'm so appreciative of what Junior continues to do to give back to Princeton and to the sport of volleyball. He's an inspiration to all of us. Please welcome Junior Obo.
Thank you very much, Coach, for that, great intro. Let me just share my screen. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, definitely to thank AJ and Alexa for those, great speeches, and as well. The bar, like I mentioned, was definitely not, set low. We have, meet expectations. In regards to first and foremost, student athletes, even everything is happening right now. Sports spent your last year on campus, but hopefully everyone able to take, the best out of it. And would like to appreciate Coach Sam and Saab for this opportunity. It's not something I take for granted. I remember fondly as a student athlete, listening to speeches and being very motivated, and hopefully I'm able to do the same. Unfortunate that we're not, meeting in person, and like Tiana said, we'll definitely hopeful to be the first and only Zoom banquet keynote speaker. Definitely want to take this time to remember Schweisky's dad. I think as I think back on the banquet, I think how inviting and helpful they were in making it the banquet feel very much like a family event, and definitely want to take this time to recognize him as he passed last year. When I, also would like to thank, friends and family for joining. I have a community here that joined, like AJ mentioned, how I, took on a mentorship position with him. Brad Howard is here as well, the original closer. So definitely want to shout him out, as well as, my family and my close friends that, and not only volleyball friends, also I have friends, student athletes friends that I played with, and just general friends that are tuned in as well. So really appreciate, everyone in attendance. When I was told that I was, going to be presenting this, I jotted down all the fondest memories that I had while part of Princeton volleyball, and I'm going to do my best to incorporate the deck. And looking forward to, going through this presentation. I figured it's very important to start from the beginning in order to really emphasize that everyone coming to the program coming from a different walk of life and to how great a place like Princeton is. And, I'm definitely very fortunate to have been given the opportunity to not only be a part of the school, but also being a part of the program. So, go back to the very beginning. I was born in, Lagos, Nigeria. Had two older siblings. I was the only boy. Shout out to my sister currently on the call. And I grew up in a loving home. Very had a traditional childhood. Was shelters as a kid, but ultimately was surrounded by a lot of family and a lot of love. And I think those building blocks were really fundamental in helping me grow and develop as a man, as a brother, as a son. So definitely want to take this time to appreciate my family on the line for really instilling in me very important values that I've carried along with me throughout my experience and throughout Princeton, and continue to do so to today. Like Coach Weisky said, moved to Old Bridge, New Jersey at the age of 9. In terms of my experience with volleyball, was introduced to volleyball at the age of 14 when I was a freshman in high school. Played on the basketball team, and the program at Old Bridge was growing. We had some players that were going on to play in the college level, and my high school coach brought me in and really looked after me to ensure that I stuck with the sport. So definitely really want to appreciate him for that. And also very fortunate to have I played with two players that ended up going to play at Penn State. So in thinking about how supportive they were in that overall journey with volleyball, from traveling to all across the country to play, and definitely would not have been able to play volleyball at Princeton without them. In thinking about my first interaction with Coach Schweisky, actually when I was going through this, was looking back to the first original email I ever sent to him, and my first email to him was on September 17, 2011. And I told him I was interested in playing volleyball at Harvard. Literally, explicitly in the email, I literally used the wrong school. In thinking about, my recruiting experience, academics were, super important to me. So I was looking at, Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and then also, Penn State. I had a lot of friends that went there, but, so emailed a bunch of coaches, just, basically just cold emailed them and told Schweisky I was interested in playing volleyball at Harvard, but he continued to engage me. So really appreciate him for that. In thinking about, kind of my back and forth with Schweisky, I'm looking back at the email thread, and we literally exchanged, up to like 100 emails back and forth. For me, giving you updates on, what I scored on SATs, to telling you about, tournaments I'm playing in, and also thinking about how inviting you were to me. I literally took about 10 unofficial visits to Princeton, given the proximity. I know some guys on the line, Brad and Tiana, can remember how I was on campus literally every weekend. And obviously, this is super exciting for a high school, senior, junior, senior, being able to go on campus and say he partied with, college students. So thank you very much, everyone, for being, super accommodating. Really appreciate it. And, thinking about the day that I got into Princeton, I was very fortunate to, be able to share that experience with my grandfather. I know about my family's on the line, and he passed a couple of years ago, but I remember it was just me and him at home when I received that email. And, in thinking about, my experience with Princeton and kind of the similar visions that he really wanted for me as his grandson, was really fortunate that he was able to kind of see, that emotion, the mix of emotions, and, was really appreciative that I was able to share that with him. And I think Coach Schweisky and the guys can remember when me and my dad and my grandfather came to Princeton, we literally suited up, all three of us. We joined the team event when they were, game planning, and unfortunately, he's passed, but definitely want to note that definitely I was able to share that experience with him.
Junior, I want to jump in just really quick and say two things. One, from the recruiting side, I got that email and I was like, all right, who is this guy talking about Harvard? And then I watched the video. I was like, well, we'll give him a second chance. We'll see if we'll see what he can do. And then, yeah, I remember you asking like, what should we come to this meeting with? Should it be formal and informal? I was like, no, just nice, like whatever. And I meant like jeans and a polo. And then, yeah, I remember you, your grandfather, your father dressed in, I recall, like, looked like matching three-piece suits. You were, like, all decked out. And I was like, whoa, these guys are taking it seriously. But I remember I may have been Instagram stalking you, and I think you posted something about a visit to Harvard, like something like, quote-unquote, worst visit ever. And I was like, all right, we got this guy. We got this guy in the bag.
No, definitely to echo that, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people had the decision between Princeton and Harvard. But a little bit of context around my Harvard visit, it was not fun at all. Didn't do anything really like a bit on campus, and although I wanted to debate, but in that moment, it was not what I was looking to get into. But definitely happy it worked out that way.
Junior, sorry to interrupt you. Someone in the chat made a good suggestion because your audio is a little choppy. Maybe if everyone can turn off their own video, because we don't need to see people who are watching, that suggestion said it might de-stress your connection, because your video is good, but the audio is a little choppy. So if you can just turn off your video, that might help. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. So in thinking about, my experiences at Princeton volleyball, I decided essentially just, thinking about all of the fondest I had, go into detail about, what stood out to me and things about my Princeton experience. I think as a student athlete, Princeton gave me the ability to really play, top level volleyball. With volleyball from the gym, the house that Martin apparently famously bounced the ball to the ceiling, to Stan Sheriff Center in Hawaii, which was a great experience. We got destroyed, but it was amazing. To playing in a basketball court, playing volleyball on a basketball court in Nicaragua at like 9 p.m. And definitely one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had playing volleyball. And I think also want to note that before a team event, I met Adam Sandler. We were practicing in California, saw Adam Sandler walking on the street, and I screamed, hey, it's Adam Sandler. And he, proceeded to quickly run off. But that's another fond memory I have. Another one is, having the fastest recovery in Princeton food poisoning in Princeton volleyball history. Got, food poisoning in South Carolina, was not able to play in the game. Quickest recovery time, I was literally in pain in the locker room. Then 10 minutes later, you literally sprung up and was like, hey, coach, I'm ready, put me in. But he didn't put me in, and hopefully, luckily we had Brad Howard and Davis Waddell to close it out. Was fortunate enough to be the second coach on the team after Brad, and first media, which ended up being AJ, and he's doing a phenomenal job. I had the second such a team freshman year, coaching I'm sure that even the fact I gained probably like 20 to 30 pounds between freshman and senior year. But, arguably the best name game player in Princeton volleyball history. Robert Sickler's on the line, and he can verify as well as score. Fortunate enough to compete in 2 EIVA championships. Although, we didn't pull it out, but definitely helped, set the building blocks for, the championship that we're going to be eventually secured. And then, obviously was fortunate enough to, train at the Olympic Training Center, which was an awesome experience. And in thinking about, the most memorable experiences for me, and I'm going to spend time, within, every slide, just go into detail about, kind of what I learned each of these experiences. Thinking about Penn State win, obviously, that was my freshman year on campus. And we hadn't beaten Penn State in about 35 years. And there's a video on YouTube in which the Princeton president gave us a speech before the game, and we proceeded to pull it out in 5. And my freshman year, that picture that you see is me blocking and Russell, who eventually wants to play in the Olympics, and he's probably one of the best players in the world. But thinking about everyone just want to confirm, is it still choppy?
Yeah, it's a little choppy. Maybe if you turn off your camera. I don't know if maybe that'll help too. If you turn your off camera, can we still see the presentation? Yeah, try that.
Okay, great. How's it now?
It's good. It's good now. Let's see if it keeps going.
Great. So obviously this was an amazing experience, and there's no feeling that thinking about recreate in this regard to what I do now. But looking back, these battles against Penn State and a lot of other teams taught me how to perform under pressure, how to believe in your potential, how to battle and respond in adversity. And in thinking about what I'm doing now, although I'm not an athlete anymore, a lot of these different skills that and different tangible, both tangible and intangible skills that I learned on the volleyball court in really tense moments, I think have been really instrumental in how I approach different things, from not only in a professional setting, but then also in thinking about different, whether it's I've picked up rec basketball, and I definitely put in the same approach to it, and I think some friends on the line can definitely verify. But thinking about the battles that I had while at Princeton, it was really memorable. And I think the next really memorable events for me was the Nicaragua trip in 2014. Unfortunately, Coach, I should have included that picture of us, but can definitely kind of share it with everyone. But and thinking about I've done a decent amount of traveling. I've now, other countries, but this trip, my former experiences at Princeton. It's a little bit of context. We went to Nicaragua. We played games with but what I took from it, the memories were really, really important. I think in thinking about where the coach mentioned peppering on the beach. We engaged the local community a lot, and the trip was really, really memorable. Looking back, this trip taught me the importance of community engagement. Like I mentioned, we were able to the local community to really compete against the local community. So in kind of a local bar in the area. So we were able to kind of leave a lasting mark as well. And these experiences online can definitely thinking about first and foremost, the team around the team was special, from everyone from obviously the coaching staff, Sam and Pat, to Johnny. Obviously Johnny's not with us, but Lou. Thinking about Coach Vejo and Mike, to Paul and Keith, and obviously these experiences both on the road and banquets, are moments that I truly look back on. I think looking back, this aspect of the Princeton volleyball team around the team taught me the importance of being respectful to everyone, regardless of rank. And thinking about how I engaged freshmen and underclassmen, really respecting everyone's voice and treating everyone regardless of position with respect and dignity. And I think also taught me the importance and the strength of the Princeton connection. I think the last picture is a Princeton picture of reunions, which I don't think the freshmen have experienced yet, but is a really great experience where you get to interact with Princeton alumni across different years. But I think, particularly within volleyball, the events that we do are, really special. And, definitely looking back at the memories that, I had while on the team are, life skills that I'm really appreciative of the program for, helping provide me with. And then fast forward to, the EIVA championship win, on the side, that's me in the red, kind of in the stands. And, in thinking about this moment, obviously this moment was, a hard moment for the program, but, I think this helped me realize, how much the program really meant to me. I think, I that won the championship. Obviously, what way, I wasn't, but, I really felt, part of something unique, part of something, obviously that went into the building block, really felt, part of this win. And, the game was really an emotional roller coaster. And I think, you can see the emotions on our faces, but, a very, great and memorable experience for me. And, I think looking back at this, it showed me, how truly invested in the program. Still today, was following the team well and kind of tracking, how they were doing. But, knowing how much effort that, the coaches have put in, the alumni have put in. I think, Jaya's in the picture, and, Jonah, I think Corey, Corey's on the court, obviously, but knowing the work that's went in from, and thinking about the days when I was a, freshman, and, how we were, in the back locker room, and to now, we have, these different facilities that, a lot of, fundraising efforts and a lot of other things has went into, the program has come a long way. And I was really happy that I was able to leave it in a much better position than I found it. The next thing that I think is definitely important are, that we have two different teams, but I think, thinking about, our Princeton, my Princeton experience, and, Princeton experience within volleyball, part of the uniqueness of the program is, obviously for many years, it was coached by, Glenn Nelson, but I think, Coach Sam and Saab have really done a great job by, separate coaches, really feel that we have, one unique identity. And in thinking about, my Princeton experience, I remember, how much joy I felt after a big win, given, how much, I had all the games. We were truly invested in, the team's success. And definitely, I think, this relationship is definitely what makes Princeton very, very unique. I can fondly remember rushing back to campus and, always knowing that we would have a team to pregame with, thinking about, the Mother's Day tournament, Volley Jolly, and, a host of different events. And there's a story about, how we were all in California for a tournament, and we had the alumni game the next day, and, a couple of individuals from a girls' team were in California at the moment, and we ended up, all going out. But, we had the alumni game the next day, which we ended up losing. But, we went to a karaoke event, and, definitely, looking back at that experience, that was also, a great and, hallmark, memory in relation to how I think about, my Princeton experience. And, I think in relation, my experience with Princeton volleyball, I think the story has always been one of, I think, the coaching staff and the program really empowered me to be myself, and really pursue what made me happy. I think freshman, was fortunate enough, we had a strong cohort of seniors, that were, really, passionate and animated guys, but they allowed room for, freshmen on the team to really, out and kind of have a voice within the team. I think, obviously I came into Princeton, was, unsure what I want to do. I definitely think the program helped guide me and provide me with the right resources school, and also you really excel both on and off the court. I think I was empowered by Coach Sam to speak up, and it's still relevant for me today. As I'm very comfortable speaking in team events or voice. This was obviously helped by the program, and I think in thinking about Coach Weiss's approach and how the players are meant to really address whether it's team meetings or video sessions very formally, and thinking about how we responsiveness to emails, thinking about Tiger Time, and thinking about how we approached practice. I think really embedded me with certain skills that I'm truly appreciative about. And I think obviously this is a picture of the relationships that Princeton. I think every year we although this year has been kind of cut, we're not able to take a trip, but usually every year we take a trip somewhere. Some of the guys I played with, and obviously I think even after Princeton, we're still friends. When I lived in the city, we tried to play beach volleyball at Central Park. But really to how within the program, the relationships that you truly last a lifetime. And in thinking about with work, I've been fortunate enough to really work across different. Right now, I was working and really I think in thinking about all my professional experiences and how I kind of I think a Princeton volleyball alumni or teammate has always been very helpful in helping kind of guide me and provide me the right in relation to answering my questions, just to ensure that I was ready to take on that endeavor. So I think obviously being our program, I know full well that any player within the program that reaches out to me for any advice, I'm definitely willing to provide feedback and being helpful wherever I can, because I know full well that to look out for me and ensure that I had the right skills that I needed to really succeed. And, in thinking about today, I think like Coach Weisky mentioned and Tiana briefly touched upon, obviously, tough times that we're seeing all around us. I think, in relation to, the Floyd was a very difficult, time for not only myself, but a lot of Americans across the country. And I really took this as a time to, have, a deep conversation with, some of the guys I played with on the team, just knowing full well that, we had that, deep relationship. And, I think, I reached out to the guys and we were able to really have a very vulnerable discussion on the issues at hand. And, like Coach Weisky mentioned, we were able to collectively, pull together money and donate money to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And I think, obviously the fact that I was able to do that shows the strengths of the relationship that, I really, developed at Princeton. And I think, in thinking about, like Coach Weissy mentioned, the EIV Racial Equity Council, obviously, I think first and foremost, the idea was brought forth by Coach Weisky. And, I think, and this goes back to how, within Princeton and outside of Princeton, Coach Weisky has really, had really been, really empowering me and, student athletes, but was fortunate enough to really be able to drive that initiative forward. And the initiative is essentially centered around, helping provide coaches and student athletes in the AIBA with the right resources to ensure that, things that we've been seeing don't occur. And also, help identify opportunities for minority athletes. And, definitely have been fortunate to be able to, be a leader in this regard. And I think this speaks to the fact that, I really felt comfortable driving these discussions because of my experience at Princeton. I think, being, in my years at Princeton, I was the only Black player on the team. And obviously my experiences are different from the experiences of a lot of other of my teammates, and was really fortunate that I was able to, not only educate, but also provide additional, clarity on anything that came to hand. And definitely want to, just wrap it up and say, the experiences and lessons I learned while being a part of Princeton volleyball, truly helped shape my life. I learned a lot about myself, found my voice and purpose. And I'm forever thankful to Coach Schweisky for the opportunity to be a part of this family. And once again, I'm grateful for this platform to be able to share my story. It's not something that's like, and thankful for everyone for getting on this call, and really thankful for your time, and really hope that everyone is able to stay safe in this trying times. Thank you very much, guys, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Junior.
Thanks, Junior.
All right, let's, you guys can throw your cameras back on. I just want to say a couple things relative to that. Junior, that was tremendous. I really appreciate it. All the kind words. I'm not sure I love this picture of me. This is back in my beige phase, all beige phase. I know if Davis or Brad are on the line, I got a lot of heat for that. I've since increased my wardrobe. But I did want to say to Junior, some of that was a little bit choppy. And as I was listening to it, I was thinking about AJ's comment about responding to adversity. And I was trying to be positive and think, and I was thinking back to something my dad taught me years ago. The players might be probably too young for this, but the parents might remember, especially if you're from the East Coast or in the city, the Marlboro ads, the Marlboro Man, the cigarette company, used to have these big Marlboro signs. And once the ad got recognized well enough that you knew it was the Marlboro Man, the word Marlboro took up less and less space, and the cowboy was just in the front. You'd see an M or part of the O or the B, but you knew what it was, and it was subliminal. The fact that your mind had to work a little harder to pick up the message actually meant you were thinking about Marlboro more and wanted to buy the cigarette. So I just was thinking about that, and I don't know. I was zoned in, and if it was a little bit glitchy here or there, I heard like love and this and that. I get exactly what you're saying because I could hear you. So I love you and I appreciate you, and I think it's a good advice from AJ and Alexa and Tiana and everybody. These are difficult times. How can we make the best out of it and find ways to get through it? So thank you for those wonderful presentations. We appreciate you guys. I had this idea of sort of a post banquet mingle, which I don't think is going to work on Zoom. Lung cancer is bad. Yes, I know. I was just making an analogy about the ad. Thank you for that. But I don't think that's going to work because we are going to talk to the parents now about fundraising. And so we were going to put the players into a breakout room and have you guys mingle virtually, but I don't think that's going to work. Alexa and AJ, if you want to organize some sort of post banquet virtual hangout, be my guest, but you can't do it on this Zoom call. So thank you to all distinguished speakers and players and guests. We will see you guys soon. You can click off. We're going to keep the parents on.
Thank you, everybody.
Sabrina and myself, and we're going to shift gears into fundraising. Thank you, everyone else.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, speakers, and Alexa and AJ.